I would caution Taiwanese businesses from increasing their FDI in China because we don't know what's going to happen, and you could easily lose that investment or.
来自美国的安东尼是位经济分析师。2002年，他放弃在华尔街担任理财顾问的工作，前往中国的少林寺学武，当过 MMA 与拳击选手。之后更在上海拿到武术博士与 MBA 学位。他对中国政经情况熟悉，曾有2本关于中国经济的著作。2019年，他被迫离开中国。
It just became very dangerous. I realized in 2019 that I was at the limit of what I could do, what I could get away with, and that very soon I was probably going to have a problem, and I left.
What's going on?
Well, for one thing, at that time I was a headmaster of a school just outside it was in Shandong, and they were having another crackdown on religion, and the police came onto the campus. They made us fill out forms explaining what our religion was, and basically swearing that we would not do any religious activity on the campus and things like this. And they had never done that before. We had the Communist Youth League or the Communist Party cell on campus would generally send us a message every year reminding us not to celebrate Christmas or not to have religious, whatever. But this was the first time I ever had to sign anything, so that kind of scared me. And there was a lot of crackdown on, because of the trade war. There's a lot of crackdown on foreigners working in China, particularly Americans. I was working for a Chinese government think tank, writing about U.S. policies. But I was writing parallel stories for American entities, condemning China, basically. So the Chinese were paying me just to explain. They say, this is what Donald Trump said, what does that mean? And I would write, a report explaining the policies, interpreting. That's it. But on the American side, I was finding out what's really going on behind the scenes, and I was writing about it. And so at that point, I said, okay, I got one foot in each camp, and now the police are coming on the campus, and then suddenly I couldn't get work permits for any of my employees. So none of them had proper work permits, and we couldn't get them. For foreign employees, suddenly it was very difficult to get work permits. And then one of my employees went to the bank, he went to the ATM machine, he put his card, and it wouldn't give him his money, and it said, you must see the officials or something, the administration. And I had another friend that was he was American, he was running a peer-to-peer lending business, and the office got raided and everyone got arrested except him, and so he left, and I think it's time for me to leave as well. So that's why I left China. So the two of these laws, the counterintelligence law and then the foreign policy law, which make asking about sensitive topics is now illegal. Everything's a sensitive topic, right? And think about this, what percentage of companies in China are government invested, right? So you may not even know that it's really a state-owned enterprise as such, right? It could be a shoe factory, but it is government invested. They could consider you asking anything about that company, that could be prying into sensitive secrets or state secrets or something like that. Normal things, due diligence, auditing, market surveys, any of these things could now put you afoul of the law and you could be arrested as a spy. How in the world can foreign companies operate in China? So now you've got difficulty getting the visas, plus with the popularity of China declining tremendously, very few people want to work in China. That's the other thing. Good luck finding an employee that wants to work in China and then try and get a visa for that employee and then put them there and then just know that in the course of his normal business activities, he might get arrested. Well, it's scaring away FDI. So people look at this foreign direct investment and they don't understand that when you do foreign direct investment, you're investing in real companies in China, a factory, store, whatever it is, hotel, casino. You're investing in a real company. So those dollars go directly into the economy, creating jobs, construction, but then people are going to work in that hotel, work in that, creating jobs for them. So this has a tremendous benefit for the Chinese people or for any country that receives FDI, foreign direct investment. The other thing is that China steals our intellectual property. According to the United States Trade Representative, China steals between $250 to $600 billion per year in intellectual property. A lot of this is being stolen through joint ventures. Sometimes a joint venture contract demands that all technology, all American technology be shared with joint venture partner in China. So this FDI, these joint ventures are bringing money into China, they're bringing US dollars into China, which China needs for hard currency reserves, they're creating jobs. Foreign directed companies, foreign invested companies account for about 30% of China's exports. You know, these Nike shoes that you say were made in China, yeah, they're made in China by an American company called Nike, right? That is employing tons of Chinese people, right? And when you have these tariffs that don't allow exports from China to the United States, this means this American company called Nike, everyone here still wants to wear Nikes. They're going to have to go somewhere else and make them. They'll have to go make them in Vietnam or something, or Mexico now. We see companies shifting to Mexico. Mexico is now our largest trading partner. The United States' largest trading partner now is Mexico, as it should be. I support that. Okay, so when we scare away people with the counterintelligence law or the foreign relations law, then we reduce the FDI reduces, fewer JV companies, fewer foreign invested companies, less manufacturing, less exports, less technology transfer. This is the economic impact on China. Okay, everyone talks about the real estate bubble. There's this huge debt of real estate in China. We know this. And everybody knows about the ghost cities. And everybody knows that I had a friend from Hong Kong that wanted to buy an apartment in China. They took him to the top of an an apartment tower in Shanghai. The whole tower is empty. And they want him in Shanghai. And they wanted him to buy an apartment. He looked out the window of this apartment, and you know what he could see? 5 more empty towers. And next,
Shanghai itself.
In Shanghai itself. And next to the empty tower, you know what he saw? 3 construction sites where they're building 3 more towers that are empty.
But Shanghai is one of the most prosperous cities.
That's correct. And then he asked, how much is this apartment? And they wanted something like $250,000 US, like something insane like this. And my friend is like, so this is an empty apartment that nobody wanted to buy, next to the other empty apartment, and you're demanding $250,000. So he said no, and he didn't buy it. Okay, so people know these stories, but the piece everyone is missing is that in a capitalist economy, if that were the United States, if you have towers and towers of unoccupied, unsold apartments or office buildings, what will happen is the price will adjust. The price will keep dropping until people buy them. We call this clearing the market. And it's the same way if you were an entrepreneur and you were going to sell shoes, and you open your shoe shop and you charge $100 for shoes and nobody bought them, the next day you would try $90, $80, until you reach some balance where you're happy with the price and you're selling a large enough volume. And if you don't reach a point where, wow, I can't sell for less than $60, but the people want me to sell for $50, you close and you go out of business. And that's how capitalism works. In China, there are price controls. Because we have central planning, the government does not want the price of real estate to plummet. Because 1, families have 2/3 of their total wealth is invested in property. If that property were to lose value, they would feel like their savings were wiped out. Their life savings is wiped out. They would blame the government. So we have to keep the price of apartments artificially high. That's number 1. Number 2, all of these apartments are built on credit. Right, so the basic model is that the construction company gets people to prepay the apartment that hasn't been built yet. They use this money to start these apartments, but they don't finish the apartments. They use this money to start the next one, and start the next one, and the next one, and they're constantly rolling over debt. They're getting bank debt to finish this apartment so these people can move in before they sue you or before they protest too much, and then you do the next one and the next one. So we have this massive building debt in real estate. When you take a loan at the bank, they don't just give you $1 billion or $100 million or millions. They don't give it to you. You have to have collateral. What's the collateral? Oh, the building is the collateral. How do we value the building? Oh, at the market price of the building. Who set the market price of the building? Right. So if they allowed, if tomorrow they removed the price cap on the building, or the price, it's called a price floor, means the lowest price you can sell the building. If they removed that price floor, what would happen in China tomorrow? The price of these buildings would drop by probably as much as 20 or 30%. The other issue, what I've been writing about a lot now, is the Chinese economy is in downward spiral, downward turn. So everyone asks, okay, but when China started their rise, 1978, 79, 80, when they started the rise, they were so poor and they were able to grow the economy so well. Why can't Xi Jinping just do that now? Economy's in a downturn, just do what you did in 1980. The problem is, in 1980, the way that they grew the economy was they expanded FDI. In 1980, foreigners wanted to invest in China but weren't allowed to. So then they took away the government control that allowed investment. Today, you're allowed to invest in China all you want, but nobody wants to. Right? So that's one. Number two, the low labor cost. You had dirt cheap labor in China at that time. Maybe it was $10 a month or something. I don't know what it was. Right? Now, labor costs in China, although the average Chinese citizen is poor, and I feel very sorry for the people that are not middle class in China, because I mean their salaries are so low. However, it's still triple what it is in Vietnam. And all these stories, all these crazy sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of like stories, myths that people just repeat about themselves, like the Chinese. They're like, oh, we're the hardest working people. We never take a break. We never take a sick day. That's why the foreigners want us to work in their factories day and night. What do you think happens in Vietnam?
What happens in Taiwan is that when the Chinese economy is bad, and they will try to appeal to the Taiwan business to invest more in China. When the FDI of the Western world has decreased, they try to do that. And sometimes for a lot of people it works in China, in Taiwan. What would you say that to those business in Taiwan? Should they invest more in China now? Yeah,
that's the irony is Taiwan is so small, but it's one of the largest investors, in mainland China. And I think it's because a lot of the older business people who have money, they don't speak English. Even in Taiwan, they don't necessarily speak English. They don't necessarily know a lot about the rest of the world. I don't mean that as an insult. I just mean that it's easier for them culturally and everything else. As much as
it's advantage.
As much as they hate politically, maybe, but culturally, right? So yes, a lot of Taiwanese companies, but yeah, I mean, I would caution Taiwanese businesses from increasing their FDI in China because we don't know what's going to happen, and you could easily lose that investment, or you're still subject to the sanctions or the tariffs. If you're going to manufacture in China and export to the United States, you're still subject to the sanctions and the tariffs. And I think the chip ban might be one of the things that will very much discourage specifically Taiwanese investment in mainland China. So most of the MMA fighters from China are Sanda fighters.
Yeah. They must be.
They must be, yeah. They are Sanda. Most of them, I would say 80% or more, their background is Sanda rather than wrestling or Wushu Taolu or something like that. However, in my book, I talk a lot about why I believe that Chinese fighters will probably never be the dominant fighters in MMA, and it's just because MMA takes so much thinking, so much creativity. It's so different because every fighter has access to every technique. We study these fights, we watch the previous fights over and over, and we study them, and we come up with strategies and ideas and thinking, and there's so much fluidity. And in Chinese martial art, that's not what you learn. You learn very structured.
Even in Sanda?
Sanda maybe a little bit less, but even the best Sanda fighters in China usually start as children doing Wushu Taolu. So in Shaolin Temple and in the TU and the Wushao, they start the children very young, usually with Wushu Taolu, and then at some point they'll have a test after maybe 2 years. Oh, you're very good at Wushu Taolu, you continue at Wushu Taolu. Oh, you're not good at Wushu Taolu, you continue with Sanda. But the background, the basis of Wushu Taolu is wonderful because they have the flexibility, high kicks, jumps, movement, very good.
Yeah.
But they do not have the thinking that is necessary, the creative thinking that is necessary for MMA.
Creative thinking?
Yeah.
Wow.
When I go in an MMA fight and I see my opponent, I have to think, how will I fight this opponent? Because it'll be different than the previous opponent. I can't do the same thing with every opponent. Well, number one, by limiting access to information, you're automatically limiting creativity. Number two, because you're not allowed to discuss sensitive subjects, you're limiting creativity. If you look at Chinese TV, you go to China, you turn on the TV. There are a ton of singing shows, singing competition shows. And the reason why, that's one of the only things that can get past the censors. There's nothing controversial, singing, and it's just ridiculous. And then you have the shows about how China defeated Japan in World War II single-handedly. There's a lot of those shows. Okay, let's say you want to make a police show in China. You want to make a police show. Now we got a problem. What are the themes of police shows? Well, one is the police fight the bad guys. That should get past the censors. Well, no, because then you're admitting that there are bad guys in China. Okay, what other kind of police shows? I know, there's a corrupt policeman and the good policeman rats out the corrupt police. You can't do that. Then you're admitting that there's corrupt policemen. Where is your creativity? If we look at art, it doesn't matter, painting, singing, dancing, theater, literature, poetry, what does it do? It criticizes. It criticizes the government, it criticizes society, it creates other ways of viewing things, of seeing things. The other thing about MMA is that when you're an athlete in China, you join a sports university, well, you join a sports high school first, or sports elementary school. You're selected maybe. You're selected for that school, or your parents send you to that school, and every minute of every day is planned. Your training is planned, your eating, your sleeping is planned for you, your competitions are planned for you. And if you're good, you continue at a sports university or the Olympic team, but everything is done for you. When you're an American and you're growing up and you want to play those kind of sports, you have to plan your own training, you have to plan your own eating, your own sleeping, you have to find the competitions, you have to fund them yourself, find the money to go to the MMA competition or something like this. So it's a very different kind of thinking. And the other benefit is our sports system here is that we have high school sports. So I attended a regular public high school and went to normal classes every day until 2:30 or whatever time high school finishes, and then we had 2 hours of sports training. And then on my own, I found the martial arts school and I went to the training, and on my own I found the competitions. And so when I graduated high school, I knew how to go out and find the competitions, the training, whatever. So my Chinese classmates had none of this. They had no experience. Like their whole life, somebody had planned everything. They didn't even have their passports. The coach held the passports for the whole team. And they had to fill out a permission to leave the country. Even though theoretically Chinese people are allowed to leave China tomorrow, they still needed to explain why they're leaving the country. We're going to a competition. Here's the documents from the competition. The coach, is going with us. They signed off on it. Yes, we'll come back. And how do you go from that to going around the world and finding the best coach and paying him and finding the competition? So this is really inhibiting the Chinese athletes.